Regular meeting for June. Call it to order. If you would, this evening, our board secretary is absent and will not be joining us this evening, so we will have Scott as our board secretary tonight, changing hats, going back and forth, and Chris will be doing our scrolling over here. Can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Thomas Lane, Butner Councilperson.
Here.
Vicki Daniels, Butner Councilperson.
Here.
Archer Wilkins, Mayor Pro Tem, City of Creedmoor Commissioner.
Present.
Jimmy Gooch, Granville County Commissioner.
Present.
Russ May, Granville County Commissioner.
Present.
Georgiana Kaczynski, Creedmoor Commissioner, SGWASA Vice Chair.
Present.
Kenneth McLam, Town of Stem Commissioner, SGWASA Chair.
Present.
All accounted for.
Thank you, sir. And now can we have an invocation from Vicki Daniels?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we gather today as citizens of this town, seeking your wisdom and guidance for our business meeting. We pray for open minds and understanding hearts, that we may listen respectively to one another and consider all perspectives. Grant us the discernment to make decisions that best serve the common good and foster unity within our community. May our discussions be productive, our actions just, and our town a place where all can thrive throughout the community that we represent. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. And Pledge of Allegiance, Jimmy Gooch.
Yes, if you will, please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Flag.
Oh, so we took our flag.
Okay.
There's one on the wall.
But I was cracking up. Okay. Well, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I thought I was cracking up.
Thank you, Mr. Gooch. Conflict of interest declarations. Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Everybody good on this end? Excellent. Adjustments, approval of the meeting agenda. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise? Review and approval of the May 12th, 2026 board meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to read over those? Can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the May 12th board meeting minutes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any conversation? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comments. Anybody sign up for public comments or send in comment?
None this evening.
Excellent. Board discussion items, page 14. Looks like nobody has any. So we move forward on that. SGWASA I-85 sanitary sewer improvement project update presentation. I'm guessing that is going to be you, Scott?
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And
Oh.
walking towards our podium is we have representatives in our audience from CDM Smith, our design engineers for the I-85 project, both CP1 and CP2. So we've created for the board this evening and the public a presentation just to give you an update on where we are with the project. Board members, not only will you see the presentation on screen, but I've also provided you with a printout copy at your desktop as well to scroll or add notes. So welcome. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Yes, good evening. My name is Bill Mason. I am an engineer with CDM Smith. I've been with the company and just hit my 30-year anniversary. I feel old. And with me tonight is Michael Sloop. He's the project manager. You've probably seen him before. Rebecca Nance Gonzalez, who is one of our engineers on the CP2 project, and Jackie Jackson, who is our inspector on site, RPR, resident project representative for CP2 construction. So yeah, they're all very involved in the project on a day-to-day basis. But we've been doing some construction for over a year now. So I felt, it's a good time just to kind of get out here and Scott encouraged us to come out here and just kind of give you an update, let you know how things are going. And kind of show you a couple things that's been going on over the last year or so. So for the agenda, I'm just going to refresh you all with the scope of the projects, provide you with progress on construction package 1 and 2. Personally, I'm more of a kind of a picture's worth 1,000 words kind of guy, so it's pretty much just going to be photos, and I'll just kind of talk over that. But I encourage you to ask questions if you see anything or have anything you want to bring up. We'll talk about the project costs and change orders that we've had so far, and just kind of give you an update on where things are with the schedule and how things are progressing. So, as you know, there were 2 construction packages. One construction package 1 that was dealing mostly with the force mains out by Joe P, and construction package 2, which was more gravity sewer. So, on this list, we had all the different all the different items that were included in both of the bids. The new lift stations at Joe P and East Middleton, the force main at Joe P, so on down the list, and the bid alternates: East Middleton force main, Joe P lift station, and then construction package. And I should say, so the bid prices came in, and construction prices being what they are, a little bit higher than what we were expecting, but still within some of the budget. So we were able to go ahead and approve all the CP1 items. Construction package 2 came in, same thing, high prices, and so we did have to cut a couple things out of the project, as you know, just to meet what the budget limits on there. So we did, and the big thing was cutting out the northern interceptor from CP2, and then some of the bid alternates. The I-85, we're going to put in a new lift station and force main down the east side of 85, and then the Long Creek and East Middleton gravity sewer rehab. So yeah, unfortunately couldn't get everything in, but we got the base portion of the project that we were hoping in the southern interceptor package. So if you go to the next slide, that kind of gives you just a map of everything that's going on. The construction package 1 is in yellow. That's the Joe Pede section there, with the 2 new lift stations that will pump the sanitary flow collector there over towards the other side of 85 into the plant. In purple is construction package 2. That's all gravity flow. Big things being the directional drill taking the flow under I-85 and then into Butner to connect up with the existing collection system. And then what's in red are the parts that we're not able to fund at this point. So most notably the northern interceptor up there. Any questions about just the scope? So like I said, that's pretty much was the project. I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but just figured it's been a year, so couldn't hurt to review. Let's go on, and yeah, and like I said, I'm a visual guy, so it's just mostly photos, but just to kind of give you an idea of what's been going on. This is going back to May of last year. Parent contractors are the ones doing the CP1, which is mostly the lift stations, a lot of work there. So they've started off clearing the sites at both Joe Pede and the East Middleton. And you can see in the East Middleton, the existing lift station there that's still in operation. So we're constructing around the existing lift station there. But you can see a silk fence and everything up there. We actually just had the state came by and did a sediment erosion control inspection just of both sites, of both packages, just last month. Everything was good. So yeah, everything's been going well. We've been fortunate with the contractors doing their job, paying attention to the quality of work.
Raise that.
And some more photos just from construction package 1. This was the excavation and construction of the lift station at Joe Pede. You can kind of see on the right there how they had to dig down, and they put in a curtain wall there for the construction. That's a high backing shot to kind of hold the dirt in place while they dig down, so that they don't have to bench back and widen the excavation. This kind of minimize the footprint of the excavation, but then bringing that up with a rebar and bringing everything up to grade with multiple concrete pours. So far, everything on the concrete, we've been having a testing company come out every time we pour to take cylinders, check the brakes. Quality's all been great so far. So yeah, concrete work has been going well, and we're now up out of the ground. And again, this is still a couple months old. On the left, that's the lift station itself with the pump room, or with the valve room and the electrical room there. So, with Joe Pete, it's nice being kind of up out of the ground to grade. Pretty much everything has been backfilled at Joe Pete. Which is, very helpful just in terms of getting stuff done and moving around the site. And then just a pipeline installation photo from West Middleton Road. There is, as you know, there's a pipeline portion of that contract that has been subbed out to Wilkerson, and they're doing that installation along. They've been working along East and West Middleton Road for the most part, and have now just started over on GOP. At the East Middleton site, again, same thing. They're a little bit, they've staggered it, so been doing most of the work at Joe Pete and are picking up East Middleton now. But they've got all the wet well and valve vaults have been poured, and now they're, you can see a couple months ago putting a precast slab on top of one of those vaults. And they're pretty close to being up out of the ground at East Middleton. There's still some electrical conduit that's being installed, but for the most part, I would say in another month or so, they will be back up to grade and just doing stuff up above grade at East Middleton as well. So. On the left, you can see they've been doing, and this is much more recent. I think that photo was only taken about 3 weeks ago. They've starting to do the architectural features of the pump station. That's a split face block finish that we'll be using at both Joe Pete and East Middleton. They're doing the roofing now, and like I said, progress is moving along. So we're mostly out of the concrete and rebar phase, and now doing kind of the architectural, and we'll soon be moving into the electrical portion of the project. And then on the right, the pipeline coming down East Middleton from East Middleton pump station out to just completely blank on the road. East Line, thank you. I apologize. Coming out to East Line, the pipeline is out to East Line from East Middleton, and they're going back currently now, still kind of dressing up the area, fixing, when you come through with a pipeline, there's a fair amount of disturbance, so they're fixing that up. Hoping for some rain so that the seed and straw starts coming in, but they're cleaning up there. Once they make the connection at East Line, they will be coming back in and repaving all of the areas that they dug up. That's probably still a couple weeks away, but then the focus will shift over to Joe Pete and the pipeline installation there. Construction package 2 now. This is Park Construction who's doing this, and this is just a pipeline construction job. It's obviously, since it's all gravity, it's a big diameter pipe. As you can see on the left there, we're using a fiberglass reinforced pipe, so it's not ductile or PVC. It's something a little. It's more of a fiberglass. It's a newish product that people are using, but it's something that's kind of catching on because it is made here in the U.S. It's easy to ship around, and we've had enough experience now that engineers are starting to see it more and more. It's cost wise, it's very competitive with PVC and ductile iron, and you can make it up to much larger sizes. So when we see large pipe diameter projects, FRP is more and more cost competitive with PVC or ductile iron. So that's what they're going to be using on this job. 8th Street on the right, you're probably aware there's been some blasting going on in town. That is the end result of one of the blasts on 8th Street. I don't know if you've ever seen any construction blasting before, but what they do is they take scrap tire mats and they cut the tires open, they weave a steel cable through and kind of to hold all the tires together, and they just cover up the blast area with these tire mats to keep everything from flying all over the place. But even then, you can kind of see there's still a bit of upheaval and displacement of the rock, which is a good thing, because that's going to make it easier for them to go there and dig. I think, Jackie, this might have been one of the first blasts they did on 8th.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So 8th and that first blast is usually the biggest one, because that first time the rock really doesn't have any place to go except for kind of up. But once you do the first blast, then you can kind of blast sideways and kind of push it into where there used to be rock and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this is the aftermath of that first blast on 8th Street. So, yeah, and on the left, you can kind of see that that's what they go out, they drill down, do holes about every 4 feet or so, for the length that they're going to do for each individual blast. You know, put the dynamite down there, fuse it all up, put the tire mats on top, get everybody out of the way, sound an air horn, and hit the trigger. And then come back in, and this obviously isn't 8th Street on the right, but it's kind of post blast. You can kind of see the rock is all cut up, and it just makes the excavation a lot easier when coming in after a blast rather than trying to chip away or rip at some of the rock that's there. So we have been, you probably are aware, we're having some issues with Enbridge, the gas company. They had some concerns about the gas line being blasted close to the service lines on 8th Street and in that area. So we're still trying to work out a plan forward with Enbridge on continuing the blasting there. So in the meantime, we have shifted over towards the areas between 85 and 8th Street and 85 and Joe P. No, sorry, East Line area in there. So we are we're doing this more of this kind of cross country blasting in places. We're doing the rock removal while we come up with a blasting plan that the gas company, that Enbridge is okay with. Hopefully that'll be soon. But yeah, and some more construction photos. I'm always, again, I kind of always struggle a little bit what to show you with pipelines because, you know, it all kind of looks the same after a while. But this is some of the work down on West A Street. They've been going through and putting some pipeline in there. And then they crossed Will Suit Road back in April. That's that photo on the right. It was where they came out and they were crossing there. There was a road closure you might have been aware of for a couple of days while they got the pipeline across Will Suit. So that's what that's showing there. And you can kind of tell from that photo on the right how deep we're going with this pipeline. As you know, it's a gravity sewer, so it's always got to be flowing downhill. And you know, obviously, the more you're collecting, the deeper it goes. So there are places where we're going to be 25 feet down the ground. So yeah, it's a big undertaking that y'all are embarked on here with getting this pipeline. And just I've got some costs and some schedule stuff I'll talk about, but before I do that, any questions about the actual work itself or any anything I can, I know I kind of went through that quickly, but if there's anything you need to know or anything.
Yeah. When you're doing the blasting,
Yep.
you still set out the seismic.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Monitors.
We have a company that comes in and they set out seismic monitors. We put them at houses at the edge of structures within the blast area, and there are, you know, tight guidelines in terms of what they call as peak particle velocities, is the measurement they take. It's basically how fast the ground is moving in a second. And they put these seismographs in, and it's the same kind of thing that measures earthquakes, really. I mean, it's more fine-tuned for specific stuff, but
And
there are guidelines for it.
once the blasting's done, you take them back up.
Yep, yeah, we
Don't put them out again till they blast again.
right. And the company that comes in will generate reports, and they'll say, okay, on this date at 2 p.m. your blast, you know, here's how far away from the blast we have the seismograph set up. If it was at a certain address, they'll put the address where it was taken, and they generate reports. We check them as they come in just to make sure, one, to make sure that the blasting isn't going way over what they should be doing. And then also, should there be a homeowner complaint saying, oh, my foundation's busted or something like that. You know, we've done these pre-blasting video, you know, we try to document stuff pre-blast, and then we'll also have the seismograph reading from their property to kind of show us like, well, you know, here was the reading. It's not in excess of what it needed to be. It's, you know, and then there are people that are much more experienced with this kind of thing than I am, that can say what kind of blast might cause foundational damage or something like that. So far, things have been going well. Project costs and change orders. This just kind of gives you the bid prices and where things are with the financial side of the project. So CP1 was 34.8 million. After those bids came in, we did do some value engineering, sat down with the contractor, which is a pretty standard practice. We'll sit down and say, okay, you've seen the drawings and specifications. Where are there places where you think we could save some money? And we work with the contractor to kind of come up with some what we call value engineering efforts. And in case of CP1, we were able to get about $600,000 off that bid price. There have been a couple of change orders. Most notably, when they started excavating in East Middleton, there was some bad material there that needed to be removed and replaced. And there was some utility poles along Joe Pete that we needed to relocate. It turned out it was going to be a little bit too close to where the pipeline was going, and so we've worked with the utility companies to get those moved. But we've been able to kind of try to offset some of those with some credits as well, deletion of some surge valves that we didn't. We feel we could save. So end result is with the value engineering in the bid, the price is now currently at that 34.369 million, and the contractor has invoiced 15.7, so about 50% of the way through on the cost for CP1. CP2 30 million or 30.2 million. The value engineering, a lot of that was the change to that FRP material from the original pipe material. So that was one of the things. And like I said, it's still a newish pipe material, but we've got enough experience with it now that we didn't have a problem recommending, especially with this credit being offered, switching over to it for this project. As far as change items, there is just going to be a remobilization cost. This goes back to with the gas company with Enbridge. The plan had been to start at 8th Street and D and kind of work its way, and the contractor was going to work its way through Butner and up towards 85, basically starting at the downstream side of the pipeline and work up. When we got into this discussion with Enbridge regarding the blasting, just in order to keep things moving, Park has had to pick up and they've moved. So they've kind of been jumping around doing work where they can while we get the blasting issue resolved. Once we get that done, they can come back to 8th Street and continue doing the pipeline. So there might be there probably will be some remobilization costs, just the cost of them having to pick up and kind of move around from place to place. Haven't gotten a price on that yet, but it is a reasonable request on the contractor's part, depending on what we get from Enbridge. So the current contract value is that 28.9 million, and they've invoiced about 20% of that to date.
How long have y'all been dealing with Enbridge and not knowing which way we're going yet?
It's probably been 3 months. I was about right.
Mid-February.
It was kind of frustrating because we had thought they were all on board with what we were doing, and they came out for the first couple of blasts and said, whoa, that's kind of more than we were thinking. So let's sit down and talk. And we kind of talked with them about coming up with a resolution. We had said, if we could either expose the gas line to kind of protect it from the blast, or possibly just do a temporary shutdown while the blasts are going on, shut the gas line off, do the blast, get it back on. Park was willing to help with, like, if it's just a question of going in and redoing pilot lights or something like that, they could help with that. Enbridge said, yeah, that sounds reasonable. Let's just check and we'll get back up with you. And they came back about a week later, said, no, we've thought about it again, and we don't think that's acceptable. What you need to do is give us a revised blasting plan that meets up our requirements.
So did they give you a required blasting?
No, they're trying to, they're basically saying, come up with they've asked Park to come up with a new blasting plan, which they did, and Enbridge still wasn't very happy with that. They still said, no, I think that still poses a danger to the gas line. So I'm trying to be polite by saying there's some back and forth, but really we've been kind of offering suggestions and have been getting shut down for the most part.
So is it time for us to offer?
We've just finally got a good response from them the other day. Park is going to come up with one more blasting plan that we're hoping to get to them, if not tomorrow, definitely this week. and then just try to get the members to the table and discuss it. The biggest holdup has been we've given them something. It's taken about 3 weeks for them to kind of acknowledge that we gave them something and get back to us. So I'm hopeful that this next time will be the last time, but if it's not, then yeah, we'll let Scott know, and it might be time to pick it up the food chain.
Is it based on the distance from the their pipe to the blast?
Yeah, I mean there are some it's 10 feet, because I mean this is the distribution line. I mean this is the gas line running down servicing all the houses in that neighborhood, and so we are blasting close to it. But they both Park and Carolina Drilling, who's doing the blast, subcontractor doing the middle drilling, they said they've never really had this situation before where the gas companies come in and said no, you can't do any blasting.
So
Our understanding is they're kind of within their right. It's the frustrating thing is they're just really not working with us on coming up with a solution.
So what do you predict this to, what are your predictions in regard to delaying the overall project based on this?
Well, so far the good news is it hasn't been a time delay to Park, because they have been able to jump around. If this goes on another month, then yeah, they're drilling, their blasting companies or blasting subcontractor has basically run out of rock to blast, except for the C Street, 8th Street area.
Who mitigates between the two if we get to an impasse? We can't come to a resolution. Who
We've been, CDM Smith has been trying to expedite the procedure. Like I said, the problem is a lot of it, and again, I don't mean to criticize anybody, but the Enbridge has been very hard to get a hold of. It's the kind of things where you go on their website, there is one phone number to someplace out of state, and then you try to get somebody to come through here. You do get some emails. Nobody will attach a physical address or phone number to their email. So just trying to reach out and find somebody to talk to has been a challenge.
probably if one of those lines were up here, you'll find somebody.
We don't want to take it that far, but yeah, it's been challenging trying to get who we think are the correct decision makers to get invested in what's going on. We think we finally have gotten some people that they're being a little bit more responsive. It's just been it's a bit of a keep pulling exercise to date.
Are these people out of Durham, Raleigh, like the people that y'all are dealing with?
Where is Jacob from? Is he?
I think he's out of Durham.
Out of Durham. We found the one guy who seems to be responsive, and the one who is kind of coming back with good feedback is actually down in Charlotte. Like I said, it's the Park has been trying to get stuff on Carolina Drilling, CDM Smith, SGWASA. We've all been trying to get this ball moving forward. It's been difficult.
I deal with a lot of them in Durham. I work for the city of Durham, so I deal with them on a regular basis. That's why I asked who you're talking with.
Well, and that's the thing that's frustrating is CDM Smith. We've got another job in Durham dealing with Enbridge, and those guys couldn't be more helpful.
Wonderful people.
Yeah. So it is kind of frustrating that I mean, a lot of times I'm sure you all know, you can be dealing with the same organization. It just depends on who picks up on the phone that day in terms of how much help they're going to need. So yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. And then project schedule. So notice to proceed for CP1 was back in April 2025. Contractual dates are finishing up December of 27, which is substantial completion for construction. Basically means the job's done. The final completion date is just basically, all right, have you cleaned up after yourselves, done all the punch list items, taken care of all that stuff. So we really kind of look more at the substantial completions in terms of when everything will be in service. So that's December of 2027. Based on the most recent schedule update from Heron, which was just last month, they are currently running ahead of schedule. Yeah, so knock on wood, it stays that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they've been doing a good job and haven't come up on any big stumbling blocks yet. So everything's going well. The critical activities they've got to get done, finish up the force main and gravity sewer installation, install the electrical gear and the pumps. the good thing is probably know sometimes material delivery gets hung up. You know, if stuff is getting shipped in from somewhere, it could just be in electrical gear, the kind of gear that we're having at these lift stations. High energy electrical gear is usually a big problem. But knock on wood, they've got all the delivery commitments in. They expect to have all their equipment when they need it. So that's great. They'll get the electrical gear in, get that energized, do the pump testing, and then once the pumps are tested, we'll make the connection of the new force main to the existing system. And then on CP2, notice proceed, for some reason I forgot to put in there, but that was December of 2025 is when the notice proceed was. Substantial completion May of 2027. Contractor, despite having to jump around a little bit, they are still on schedule as things stand now. So they've been doing a good job of keeping busy. As I talked about, coordination with Enbridge Gas is going to be one of the big critical activities, just making sure we can proceed with the blasting along 8th Street. And then the one big thing is that you all should be aware of is starting July, it's going to be July 6th. We are going to be closing Central Avenue at 8th Street right there next to the Armory. And I mean, not just one lane, we're going to be closing it down. Reason is they are coming across Central Avenue with the new sewer line there. And it's 25 foot deep there. So it's just for safety issues. You can't dig a 20-foot hole and keep one lane of traffic open. It's just too many safety concerns. So we have been coordinating with NCDOT and with all the people. We're going to be shutting that. There's be notice boards out on 85. They'll basically just have to send folks up to the next exit and then wrap them back around. So
So will 11th and C Street have the same gas issues that you have on 8th Street now?
Yeah, I mean, it's that, and again, it's just that like that 1-inch steel service line that provides gas to all the houses. It's running, you know, you have like a water and sewer line right there running along the side of the road. There's a gas line in that neighborhood as well.
Okay.
And we'll be within 10 feet of it in some places.
So Enbridge is addressing all these issues at once.
Yes, we're hoping that once we get an approved blasting plan, that'll free them up to do everything through C Street and 8th and all that.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, closing Central Avenue. The plan is to start on July 6th. The contractor is currently saying they will be able to finish it by the time school opens, on August 10th, I believe. But for most of July, there will be a detour around Central Avenue at 8th Street. So that I mean,
That's 10,000 cars a day.
yeah, we're I mean, yes, and as far as public disruption, I think we always knew this was going to be the biggest thing you will see out of this I-85 project, because I mean, that's the main street in Butner. As you said, it's a lot of traffic, but there's really no way to dig 25 feet in the ground safely without closing the whole road. So, but yeah, they're optimistic they'll be able to get through there in about 3-4 weeks at most, and open things back up, and hopefully that's that. Which and then micro tunnel under I-85, which is pretty straightforward compared to getting across Central. But we're going to be doing tunneling under 85, and then there's also a jack and bore under the Norfolk Southern Railroad as well. So with gas lines, I mean, with pipelines, it's a lot of utility crossings and stuff like that.
So you didn't have any trouble out of northern stuff, but you're having the trouble out of Enbridge.
I can imagine. I mean, so far Norfolk Southern's been. I mean, I didn't have to get all the permits myself, but I know I
deal with them every day.
Yeah, I've had
and if you get within 50 feet, you got to let them know.
Yeah, but no, we gave them good jack and bore plan. They signed off on it. We will let them know when the work's being done. They'll send their representative be out there while the work's being done, and I mean, it should go pretty smooth. So
You referenced the pipe material.
yes,
It's fiberglass.
fiberglass.
Form of fiberglass.
Yeah,
Is I assume that's resistant to hydrogen sulfide.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
It's unlike the ductile iron that will
Right,
eventually.
yeah, that's one of the
Whole
good things about it,
comfortable
is that it is resistant to that, so you don't have to worry about any kind of interior coating or anything like that. It's, and part of the reason we're seeing folks use it more and more.
Yeah.
Raleigh, I think, has recently become a convert to it, and it's mostly the larger diameter pipes. Once you get down to the smaller pipes, you see more PVC or ductile iron, but for the larger pipes, it's very cost competitive.
So I'm assuming that the cement is curing faster and the delays are missing because of this lovely weather we're having.
Yeah, they picked a good time. There is one little stream on Joe P, just between the new lift station and the old one. And yeah, as far as picking the time to get across that stream, they couldn't have gotten any better.
Nice and dry.
Yeah, normally you'd be having to worry about groundwater and run into half dozen or some more pumps.
And hopefully now that I've said that, we will have a
Yeah,
deluge
now,
of rain,
yeah.
which we
We
need,
said all
and I'm
that,
sorry,
but
but
still, I would still put that misery on the contractor of working in the wet if it meant we got some rain. So, yeah. Anything else?
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, if y'all want, we are more than happy to come back here, give you another presentation whenever you want. Like I said, that's pretty much what I covered. Just where we are on schedule, where we are on cost, and a couple of nice pictures. So, if nothing else, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Number 11, 25-26 year-end auditing services, award of contract, that will be Mr. Rich.
That would be three easy financial items tonight. Brings to you the 25-26 year in audit and services award of contract. The requested action is seeking the board of directors approval to execute the audit contract for fiscal year 25-26 with WWCEJ and Company PC. They will formerly Winston Williams Creech Evans and Company LLP. They've been doing the audit for the last 3 years, as you'll recall, and see in the information. The executive summary, staff is seeking board approval to execute a 1-year contract with WWCEJ and Company PC for the required 25-26 audit in accordance with North Carolina general statutes based on past performance, reasonable cost, and the firm's familiarity with SGWASA's financial operations and the complex grant funding project. Staff recommends continuing services with the same audit team following the firm's recent ownership transition. His contract amount is $10,000, which represents a modest increase over the prior years and ensures continuity and efficiency in the process. Just basically, I'll summarize the background. We went out for an RFP on audit services January 13th, 2023. We only received 2 bidders. WWCE, Winston Williams Creech and Evans back then, and one other bidder. And Winston Williams Creech and Evans was the lowest bidder by about half the cost. So we recommended to the finance committee that we award the contract to them. They recommended that we bring it to the board, and we did so. So we brought that to the board on April 11th, 2023. The RFP indicated that we would, of course, award year by year. There's no long-term commitment, but that we would, our intent was to do at least 3 years with that person. The analysis, SGWASA has been pleased with the audit services provided by Winston Williams Creech Evans and Company LLP, and their audit costs were reasonable. Due to the limited number of proposals obtained by SGWASA during the previous RFP process, in addition to the complex auditing requirements associated with the state and federal funding to the I-85 sanitary sewage improvement project, and for the sake of continuity, staff recommends continuing the audit services with former staff of Winston Williams Creech Evans and Company LLP, who are now associated with WWCEJ and Company PC at a cost of $10,000. You'll see a chart there with the previous audit cost. Back when we bid it out, it was $8,900. It rose to $9,050 the following year, $9,200 the following year, and this upcoming year, if you award the contract, it would be $10,000. The next steps. If the board approves this item, the engagement letter and the audit contract will be signed following the board meeting tonight by the appropriate SGWASA management and governing board officials, and the signed documents will be provided to the auditor and the LGC. Staff will consider issuing a new RFP for the next year's audit. Staff recommendations, the executive director and the finance director recommend awarding audit contract to WWCEJ and Company PC for the fiscal year 25-26 audit at a cost of $10,000. We are a little bit behind the schedule. This normally comes to the board in April because of the name change. They were going through some discussions with the LGC, and they asked CPA to determine how the audit engagement letter what name should be on it, and whose peer review should go with it. So that's, I apologize for bringing it to you so late. We just got this last week. Financial item, just one note, the audit fee is $10,000. In the budget, we included $9,450 based on prior increases. So a BA would be required in July. The board looks the contract. And then the executive director's recommendation is that the board of directors enter a one-year contract with WWCEJ and Company PC for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2026 audit. And a not to exceed amount of $10,000, authorize the executive director, finance director, board chair, and finance committee chair to execute the contracts and any related documents accordingly. And you have both the contract and the engagement letter in your package. One note on audit, you received your related party transaction questionnaire before the board meeting tonight. It's important to get that back to the auditors by July 14th. If they don't receive those, they can't finish field work and issue any kind of audit. And it is required. It's not. If you did one last year, you can use last year. Basically, nothing's changed probably unless you know something different. So you can just kind of sound the same answers. Any questions?
Richard, what's the J stand for?
We're inquisitive.
I want to know.
I think it's Jones.
Of
I
course.
think they changed or they trying to change partners. And
It looks like you added a partner, yeah.
yeah, I think they added one partner, and the principals of the firm are still there. I think two of them may be on a retirement track in the next 3 to 5 years.
Gotcha.
So they kind of reorganized brought in a new partner, I think, too.
We're just.
And it's a PC, not an LLP anymore. Yeah. Okay. Just tease.
Any questions for Richard? Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the
Second.
25-26 year-end auditing services contract.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Richard.
Just stand right there, Vern.
Fiscal year 25-26 fourth quarter internally approved budget amendments.
Right.
Yeah.
We mentioned in the financial presentation last month board meeting that as part of the quarterly presentation, I bring you the internally approved budget amendments. But since we don't have a fourth quarter presentation, I will bring them to you in the agenda. So that's what this is. So you'll see this is the fourth quarter internally approved budget amendments. It's for information only. There's no board action required. You'll see that. Where's this? You'll see that it's fairly straightforward. There was some reallocations from purchasing vehicles where we reallocated the excess from capital outlay to purchase the tags. So that counts vehicle supplies and maintenance rather than the capital outlay. That's a standard thing that we do. We always budget it in the vehicle until we know how much the vehicle is going to cost, and then we move enough money to vehicle supplies and maintenance to obtain the tags and pay the taxes on it, because that part's not capitalized. And you'll see some capital outlay reassignments in the wastewater treatment plant. And of course, since these are all internal budget amendments, they have to be within the same department. They can't change the budget ordinance or appropriation. So they're all within same change in line items within the same department. And they're all below 10,000, which is the executive director's authority. Any questions on those?
All right, move on to fiscal year 25-26 budget amendment number 13.
Another fiscal year gone. So we
Excuse me, Chair. I may have missed this. Did we? No, it's informational. I just want to make sure I'm keeping up with you. Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
So this is fiscal year 25-26. This is it. This is the final budget for the year unless we have a major catastrophe and have to have a special call board. But then I'm gonna be
Don't
out.
talk it up.
I know
Yeah,
that's
we're
what
gonna
it
be
is. I
out.
said, God forbid.
It's gonna be this flash flood that Ms. Kaczynski just brought on by
It's gonna be
saying
your
about
fault.
the crap.
I'll take it.
So background, this is budget amendment number 13 that adjusts budget for various revenue line items provides to reflect projections utilizing fiscal year to date billing data and interest earnings. The amendment appropriates budget amounts for interest revenue, both earned and accrued interest expense related to the I-85 bond anticipation note or the BAN. The amendment appropriates additional budget for general legal services, amortization expense related to software, property and liability insurance, and certain electricity costs at pump stations. The amendment appropriates budget for year-end materials inventory audit adjustments and unappropriates budget for a maintenance project at the water treatment facility, which was accomplished utilizing existing operating budget instead of the special R&M budget. The amendment reallocates existing budget for increased postage costs related to customer bills and realigns pay and benefits for all departments based on the year-to-date payroll data and the updated projections for the fiscal year. You'll see in your table that the total budget amendments to date, 1 through 12, total $14,644,047, with the largest chunk of that, of course, being related to capital projects. You've got your supporting documents in there, but we'll cover the budget amendment itself first. So we talked about in the last quarter that the revenues would be revised this month based on the new projections. Water revenues are being increased by 200,000. Sewer revenues increased by 300,000. Non-billing revenues being reduced by 163,250. Interest income increased 350,000. Interest income on the dam 450,000 for a total increase in revenues of 1,136,750. The allocation of those to expenses, administration is being increased 20,000. Water treatment plant is being decreased 13,970. Utilities water line maintenance increased 50,000. Sewer line maintenance 25,000. Wastewater treatment increasing 25,000. Utilities for pump stations and towers increasing 27,450. Depreciation for other increasing 140,000. We'll talk about that in a minute. Debt services increasing 800,000. Transfer to fund balance is 63,270. So the total expenditures of 1,136,750. The supporting documents in your package, the executive director's recommendations that the board of directors approved budget amendment number 13. There's really not a whole lot in the supporting document to point out, but I will point out a couple of things only see once a year, and some of those are a little higher than the normal. You'll see we're increasing depreciation and board department amortization expense. The reason that number is large this year is because the Tyler financial package is now fully implemented and based on new GASB rules that now has to be amortized. So that's hitting the books all this fiscal year. So that's what that large $125,000 amortization expense is for. The debt service is strictly related to the ban, and that's so that we're going to have to prorate and accrue on a fiscal year-end budget amount, year-end journal entry. We'll have to accrue interest that's already been incurred on that, even though it's not due until November. So that's what 800,000 comes from. Within the payroll and benefits, it's just interdepartmental moving around in line items to kind of accommodate any budget differences. And then just a reminder, the audit rules for the audit inventory adjustments at the bottom. Each year we're required to take an inventory of all of our supplies, and those supplies either increase or decrease expenses for each department, depending on whether our inventory increased or decreased from last year's number. And so that's really a book. I call it a book entry. It's not a true cash outflow, nor is the amortization expense. So even though these numbers look large, the largest ones are not true cash outflows. They're basically a book paper entry. Any questions on any of those? No. I think that's it for you. We will need a board action to to approve the budget. Because that is the true budget.
Do I hear a motion to
Motion to approve.
budget amendment number 13? Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? No discussion? Everybody for?
Aye.
Against? Great. Move forward. Number 14. Position classification plan update based on approved 26-27 budget. I showed Priscilla and I know she's not here, so that's gonna be you, Scott.
That is correct. Priscilla works on this project for us and the next item coming up, agenda item 15. And unfortunately, she is out of service this week for us. So I'll carry the load here and update the board on these two items, agenda item 14 and 15. As you call it, this is a consistent classification plan update. We asked that the board members review and approve the position classification plan for FY 26 and 27. And just overall, we do recommend the board approve this classification plan reflecting updates associated with the adopted budget. So it's very typical after the board approves the budget, we bring this item to the board for approval. The recommendation includes a 2% cost of living adjustment for employees while maintaining the existing pay plan schedule. And that is consistent with the findings of the recent job classification and compensation study. The plan also incorporates the addition of one approved full-time position and aligns with the board approved FY 26-27 organizational chart. Approval will ensure continued consistency in job classifications, compensation practices, and organizational structure. So this is an item that's required anytime we make changes to the classification and compensation package or table. This is brought to the board for your review and approval. The cost of living adjustment at the 2% was approved by the board as part of the budget. So it's just reflected again in this document telling you that. There's no changes to the actual schedule. So part of our attachments that we have for you this evening include Exhibit A, which is the position classification plan, and then Exhibit B, the updated organizational chart. So I would like to turn to the position classification adjustment and scale schedule beginning on page 47, Exhibit A. The board members should be very familiar with this classification scale. It's something that you see on an annual basis. I would like to point out that we have added in grade 15, you will see at the bottom of the page, an accountant 1, and also the billing customer service supervisor. So the accountant 1 is what we would call just an existing position, but a new position. So we have a current employee that most likely will transfer into that position, but it is a new title, new job description. So it sits in that range, in that grade. And also we talked to the board about the need for a billing customer service supervisor, which the board agreed, and that was approved as part of the budget. So that sits in grade 15 as well. Just looking at the schedule in general, it's effective July 1st, 2026 to align with our fiscal year. You have E's and N's on the status, which represent E is an exempt employee, N is a non-exempt employee. And you'll see in the classifications table, we also have the classification called unused. So what we decided to do is just so the board can see all the grades on the chart, that we show you the grades 1 through 6, for example, at the top of the chart being unused, meaning we do not have any positions right now classified within those grades. So that's basically how you would interpret the schedule here. Turning to page 48, page 2, you have the additional grades of 16 through 28, the same nomenclature for status, classification. And one thing I did point out on the previous page is basically we're showing you minimum, midpoint, and maximums as far as salary ranges on these positions. And this chart classification scale was modified about a year and a half ago after a classification study. The board approved that as well. This year, we are not changing the schedule itself. It's not making it a 2% or 3% jump, but we are offering the COLA to the employees and keeping the schedule where it is. Now, through the course of the year, especially during budget time, we do our surveys. We look at this classification, we compare it to what's going on around us. We look at the jobs at the ladder basically throughout and decide what adjustments need to be made. That information is evaluated and usually discussed with the finance committee as we're running up to the board discussions working on our budget. The question's been asked in the past, I think it was most recently the Finance Committee meeting, how often do we analyze our classification and our pay? I think that it had been 5+ years prior to the last project that we did. And there's been a request to stay on top of this and at least look at this about every 2 to 3 years, just to make sure that we're being competitive in the marketplace. So again, we completed this study about 1.5 years ago. So really, as we're monitoring this, we may anticipate another review of this, within the next 18 months or so. So you have in front of you not only the classification scale, but I've also included for you on page 49, Exhibit B, the organizational chart. And the organizational chart will actually show you where we have those new positions slotted for the accountant one and customer service utility billing supervisor. And it's to the far left of the page underneath the finance director's area of responsibility. I'm requesting the board of directors approve the FY 2026-27 position classification plan as shown in Exhibit A. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding what's been presented.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So under the analysis section, cost of living adjustment, the paragraph saying accordingly, if the board approves a 2% COLA as included in 26-27 budget, it may elect to maintain the current pay schedule rather than automatically increasing the minimum of each pay grade. I think that we need to vote on this before we go forward with the position classification grade and find out from the board if you want the 2% COLA applied after the changes or before the changes.
You repeat that, please.
The whole thing?
Yes.
All right. So it says accordingly, if the board approves a 2% COLA as included in 26-27 budget, which we've done, it may elect to maintain the current pay plan schedule rather than automatically increasing the minimum of each pay grade, which means we increase the pay grade now and then give them a 2%. I think the 2% COLA should go in before the pay grade change. And I think that the board should vote on that part of it before we approve this classification plan.
I'm gonna look to Scott for just a minute.
Well, I actually thought that's what they
We
were
did,
saying.
yeah,
that-
that's what we
I
did.
thought it was already voted on in the budget.
Yeah, we voted on that in
The,
excuse me, in the budget. We already included that in the budget.
the new classification plans.
The
Yeah,
2%.
I remember questioning it.
I know we approved the 2%, but the 2% could apply to the previous classification plan. And then after they get their 2% adjustment, the new classification plan will go into effect.
So let's look at Scott for a minute.
Let's all stare at Scott.
If you go down and read the next paragraph, it says, based on the study's findings, staff recommends approval of 2% COLA with no changes to existing pay plan schedule.
I understand what the staff recommends, but I'm asking the board. I think we should vote on it before we just do this.
I think you're gonna have to break it down step by step, because my understanding was we have already.
Mine too.
We gave them a 2% increase. Yes, we did. But it would be 2% of this new plan versus the old one.
I think what she was saying, study findings and staff recommend, she's just complimenting or supplementing to what we already done. She's acknowledging the study findings that agree with the 2%.
Would you?
I'm not taking the 2% away. That's not what I'm doing.
I know, but it sounds like you're adding 2%.
No, no. Before we approve this new classification scale, we give them their 2%. And then we accept the new classification scale.
You've already
We've already
given
approved the
2% in the
2%.
budget.
Wouldn't go into effect in
Not what
July.
the
anyway.
paragraph says.
Excuse me,
It
sir.
says, would we rather maintain the current pay plan schedule rather than automatically increasing the minimum of each pay grade. The pay grade numbers have changed, am I right?
Can I respond to your question this way?
Go for it.
So let me just take you back a couple of years before we did study for the classification plan. So when the board would approve a COLA as part of the budget, we often would take that percentage, and we'll just use 2% here. We would take this classification plan, add 2% to the entire schedule, so everything would shift up 2%.
Right.
Okay, so when you do that, effectively, you can appreciate your minimum values are moving up as well as your maximums. Now, your employees sit within that classification.
Right.
So if you're making $10 an hour today and the board approves a classification schedule upgrade of 2%, they will get a 2% increase basically on their pay. That's how that works. So we have been updating the classification table the last several years to remain competitive. Instead of keeping a table static, let's just say at $10 an hour for an employee where others around us are going $12, $14, $16 an hour. Because you may recall in the last 5 years, there was a lot of increases in salaries for competition around us. So in a year and a half ago, we brought in a consultant to look at our compensation plan in general, our positions, where they fall within these ranges. And the consultant suggested that we make changes, not only tweaks to some positions and some of their ranges, but also there was a major schedule update that was incorporated back in 2024 for a previous budget. I think it was possibly the 24, 25, 25, 26 budget. So we made a major change. The consultant recommended with that shift that 1 year after that shift, that it's okay to keep your classification schedule static. You don't need to upgrade it at this point. So based on that recommendation, we said, well, let's keep the chart static, if you will. So what you have on the 30th of June, you would have the same on the 1st of July.
Right.
Same schedule, maximums, minimums, and maximums. But what you would be doing is basically giving the employees right now a 2% increase, which effectively goes in and takes that $10 an hour, adds 2% for that employee. So you have your classification table that remains static, but you're also applying a 2%. So that was what was recommended to the board for consideration because of the consultant's recommendation to not shift the schedule. That being said, obviously, there's another option. There's the option where you could increase the compensation schedule by 2%, shifting everything up, your minimums and your maximums. The end result would be that the employee still making $10 an hour is going to get an increase, but you're raising up your floor,
Right.
and increasing your ceiling by 2%. That's the relationship. So
And in total, it's 4%.
no, it's still 2% because you're not giving the employees 2% and then shifting the schedule up another 2%.
Right.
That would be your 4%
Doing it one time.
doing that. So
Yeah.
that's
That's what I understand.
those. I think those are the options that we've talked about. You could.
So I don't understand why this paragraph's in here then.
Well, it was, I guess, put in there to confuse you, obviously, which I was not trying to do, but I was just trying to say that you have an option. The board could now, there's always a recommendation, but it's the board's option to decide what they want to do. You could offer a 2%, and you could effectively shift the schedule an additional 2%, which would be 4%. That would be the net effect of doing that. But the board needs to understand that's the cause and effect of making that decision. We went into this recommendation with the board back in December, January, when we were putting our budgets together. For recommendations and talked to the finance committee about this. Committee agreed that that's what we put in there, so that's what we've moved forward with. That was well before we had $4.25 a gallon for gas in front of us as well. So I hope that I've answered your questions, but I can answer more questions should we have this on this item.
So my thought is the second scenario that you gave us, saying that it would be 4%, but that would be opposite of what we approved in the budget.
It's beyond what you approved in the
That's
budget.
right.
There is a financial.
So that wouldn't be an option.
So if somebody's job classification is $50,000 a year,
Mhm.
And this classification pay study takes them up to 52,000. The 2% would be on the 50,000 or the 52,000. That's my question. Does it hit before the change or after the change? Because 2% of 52,000 is more than 2% of 50,000.
Okay, so keep in mind that the fiscal year budget
That's
approval
what it is.
begins July 1st.
Yes.
So it depends on which side of that day you're talking about here. You could, as a board this evening, make approval here and then make an approval afterwards in terms of percentages.
Well, right now it's static.
It's static. That was like,
But it says it may elect to maintain the current pay plan schedule rather than automatically increasing the minimum of each pay grade by 2%.
Could
Right.
But
I offer one clarification?
Please,
If you.
please come on, please come on.
If you disengage the two, they're totally independent. So the 4% is not accurate. So the COLA applies to every active employee's current pay.
current pay.
The pay scale only affects anybody you're gonna hire after July first. So in essence, I couldn't get a 2%. If you index the scale by 2%, that would not affect me 2%. I wouldn't get 4.
Okay.
I still get 2 because I'm an existing. But all the scale does is when new hires, you would be hiring them at a 2% higher rate.
All right.
And if you're currently employed and you, at those certain points, it would raise, say you're at the end of the rainbow, it's 2%.
That's right, but you could
You would-
max out, but we don't currently have any employees that are at the top end of the range.
And that's where that would be the only place that 2% would apply.
I didn't even know.
No, that's good to understand. Very good to understand. So, is there anything else I can answer for the board?
Good.
No, I'm good.
All right, I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Yeah, but I'm still being static, so it's not.
So number 15, I guess, is yours as well, Scott. SGWASA employee benefits, contract renewals for 26-27.
All right, page 15. Requested action is to authorize the executive director to execute contract renewals for fiscal year 26-27 with Blue Cross Blue Shield and Mutual Omaha for ancillary benefits as presented. SGWASA is experiencing a significant increase in healthcare costs for the upcoming fiscal year. The recommended renewal strategy moderates the projected increase from approximately 28% to 7.6% while maintaining the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO network, preserving core coverage elements, generating ancillary savings, and supporting budget alignment for the fiscal year upcoming. In summary, the fiscal year budget includes funding for employees' healthcare benefits for approximately 53 full-time employees. Current offerings include medical insurance through Blue Cross Blue Shield and ancillary benefits by Guardian. Due to the rising market costs, SGWASA evaluated plan design changes to maintain fiscal sustainability. The recommended plan changes include increased deductibles, out-of-pocket limits, and copays while preserving preventative care coverage and provider network access. To reduce the financial impact of the renewal, SGWASA evaluated multiple medical plan options. The selected plan achieves cost savings through adjustments to employee cost sharing. For example, a summary of the recommended renewal strategy maintains Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO network and overall plan framework, implements targeted cost sharing adjustments to moderate the renewal increase, preserves 100% preventative care coverage, changes the ancillary carry to generate additional savings and help offset medical cost increases, and supports the budget alignment for the upcoming fiscal year. Key elements maintained, of course, the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO network, which is our current network, the 100% preventative care coverage, and our prescription drug structure. The ancillary benefit strategy is to replace some current carriers, resulting in approximately $6,000 in annual savings, helping to offset some of the medical costs. Page 51, the employee impact. Most employees are expected to see only modest increases in routine out-of-pocket costs. Employees who need more healthcare services during the year may have higher out-of-pocket costs because of the increased deductibles and out-of-pocket limits. And claims analysis suggests that most employees are not expected to reach the annual out-of-pocket maximum. We've got your financial information for you as far as the medical increase, approximately $41,000 annually, and the ancillary savings changing from Guardian to Mutual of Omaha at approximately $6,300 annually. The net impact is moderated overall cost increases aligned with the budget assumption. As far as our schedule, we're currently in the open enrollment period. The proposed plan effective date is July 1st. My recommendation is that the Board of Directors authorize the Executive Director to execute contract renewals for FY 2026-27 with Blue Cross Blue Shield and Mutual of Omaha. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I believe you brought up to me that we would, SGWASA would look at this again next year as possibly doing something a little different.
That is correct. Let me share with the board that we have a third party consultant, if you will, that helps us with our insurance, and we've had the same consultant firm working for us for many, many years, and they've done a fantastic job for us up until about February, March of this year. We had to basically change horses midstream because we weren't getting the service that we needed for this to put our plan coverages together. Therefore, that created a last minute analysis period and a lot of pressure on staff to come up with some of these options, because we were looking at 26 to 28% increase in our insurance year over year, even though we budgeted for 20%. So if we had stayed with our current programs and our current carriers, I'd be asking the board to consider another $50,000-$60,000 on top of what we already increased it to clear that coverage. So we thought it was fiscally responsible to make some plan changes. Based on that, a lot of work going on by staff, basically in the last 30 days to put this plan together. We've realized that we're going to take a little bit different approach this next year. We're going to start pursuing more discussions with the plan carriers probably in September. Not that we haven't kept in touch with our plan carriers consultants over the years, but we just didn't get the service we wanted. And then we're also going to look at starting in September, maybe some different plans for the employees. Right now, we have kind of a one plan fits all. So we're considering maybe some options for employees that, based on where they are at their point in their career, their point in life and responsibilities, maybe there's some plans that fit better for them at a better cost. I often refer to that as a cafeteria plan. That's how it was introduced to me many, many years ago. I've had some great discussions with our chair recently. He's shared with me some of the programs that his employer has, which will help us. But these are things, that plans that we want to work out before we get to our budget discussions, so that our board can see the examples of what we're looking at and have a good idea of what the costs are. We all know that you're not going to get your actual costs till about 7 months after you've initiated your contract. But I think that we can start to look at some program changes and see what we can do within that range, so that we're well ahead of this for next year. That's where I would like to be for us. So, Board Chair, I hope that answers your question as far as relates to the discussions we've had of late.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, a second, and discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Comments from my executive director.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate all the presentations we had this evening. Overall, I hope that you found it very helpful to have a presentation update on the I-85 project. Overall, I think that any time that you can be ahead of schedule and under budget is good on a $70+ million project. Getting finished before our due date, I think, is fantastic. I think we're going to move in that direction. One of the things I just wanted to add, I didn't say this during the discussion, but Chris and I have been very, very involved with these discussions and approach with the gas company. And we've made steady progress with them. So we keep getting involved, and we pull back a little bit when we make some progress. We haven't reached that point, board, where we need to take it to the next level. But keep in mind, we are the owners of this project. We've got some great engineers and project managers for us and contractors, but we are the owners. So there is a point where you get to that impasse that we will move in that direction. We've had conversations with our attorney. We just haven't gone there yet. Okay, but we're hoping that's not on the horizon. The good news is that the contractor has been very willing to work on other parts of the project and move around. I've had experiences with contractors sometimes when they get in this position, they leave the job and you don't see them for 90 days, for example, but this contractor continues to work for us. So that's very good. So I wanted the board to appreciate that. Any questions about 95 project that I can answer for you? Just, okay, I didn't want to jump into that presentation. That was a great presentation that we had. So again, thank you for the presentations this evening. Richard, thank you for your work on all the budget amendments and the budget for us. Greatly appreciate that. Lucky number 13, that's where we wound up this year on the budget amendment, right?
Not a good sign.
Okay. So onward and upward as we close out. There's a lot of work for us to do as far as the closeout for this fiscal year. So we look forward to that. And as Richard mentioned, those forms that you have, those surveys, we look forward to getting those back from you. If you need some assistance from us on that, please reach out to Richard and his team will help you with that. I did send out my update report for the month of May to the board of directors last week. There's a couple of things I would like to talk about this evening, if I can have Chris pull that up, just to pull some items from that document that I think are worthwhile speaking of tonight. So, a couple items I have for you this evening. I just want to give you an update on the PFAS pilot phase 2 and some testing updates. I have some water plant testing after the filter media replacement to discuss that. And then I will give you an update on the lead service line replacement program, just an overview of the responsibilities that we have. So I think it's always good to kind of refresh the board on those. So let's talk about the PFAS pilot phase 2 and testing update. So phase 2 of the pilot project for PFAS has been approved and is moving forward with CDM Smith. This phase includes expanded pilot testing using advanced membrane systems to better evaluate the long-term treatment performance. As part of the pilot, CDM Smith will conduct PFAS sampling both before and after the filtration to measure the removal efficiency and overall effectiveness of the treatment process. Hence, that's the whole reason for the pilot project that we're doing here. So we'll have those tests going on all the time and collecting that information. So SGWASA remains on track with required PFAS monitoring with initial regulatory sampling to be completed by 2027. No problems for us there. We do enough sampling. We have a lot of that information. And at the conclusion of the pilot, CDM Smith will provide a comprehensive summary report and presentation to the board, similar to what was delivered following the PFAS pilot 1, which will help guide final treatment decisions. So for those of you that were in attendance previously following the PFAS pilot 1, it was a very comprehensive presentation that was given by CDM Smith to show us the results of that. So look forward to that coming up as well. So if there's any questions the board members have at this point, I'd be happy to answer anything related to the PFAS pilot phase 2 testing and update. If not, I'll be happy to move to the water plant testing after filter media replacement. The filter media replacement project is complete. And all filters, all 5, are back in service with restored treatment capacity. We just a note, I think that, Chris, we just received the final invoice for that project to close out that project. We're reviewing that, processing that under budget. So we are on time and under budget on that project, which is always great news. We've coordinated with Hazen. They've been the design engineer for this project to perform a post-project testing and evaluation of the new filter media. So we did a lot of this testing back in the fall of 2024. Some of you may remember we had issues with water quality and manganese and filtration in a very hot summer. And then we did some analysis on the filter and discovered that the filter media had not been changed out for 20 plus years. So we moved forward with that project and the board approved it. Thank you very much. So Hazen has recommended that initial testing and analysis occur no sooner than 90 days after the project completion to allow the filters to stabilize under normal operating conditions. So if you consider the project completed in early May, then we anticipate collecting our first round of post-project test samples in mid-August. That'll give us that 90-day spread. Following that sampling, Hazen will complete their analysis and present their findings to the board. So we think it would be beneficial for them to do a presentation for the board as well. So look for that. I don't have an exact date on that, but assume, I would say probably the October board meeting. With them doing the analysis in mid-August and reporting, I don't think we'll make the August or the September board meeting, but we'll do as best we can to get that to the board. So any questions on that approach and that project? All right, moving on. So let's talk a little bit about the lead service line replacement program, just an overview of responsibilities. So this information provides a high-level overview of our lead service line replacement program and clarifies the division of responsibilities between SGWASA and property owners. So all this information was kind of collected from my report and pulled from our website. So we've got a lot of information out there regarding the program. It talks about our lead service line replacement program in accordance with federal regulatory requirements under the EPA. The program focuses on identifying service line materials, notifying customers, and replacing the lead service lines where necessary to protect public health. And we're going to have a graphic here we're going to have you that shows basically the service line responsibility. And the water service line consists of two distinct segments with responsibility divided between SGWASA and the property owner. So you can see from the graphic here, I just put a big red star on top of the water meter. That's pretty much our focus. So SGWASA's responsibility is what we call the public side. And that's the portion from the water main to the water meter. SGWASA is responsible for identifying materials and replacing lead or regulated materials if present. The property owner's responsibility is the private side. The portion from the water meter to the home or the building. Property owners are responsible for identifying and replacing lead or regulated materials on private property as necessary. So one of the things that we do in our program is we identify service line materials composition on both sides of the meter. How else would you know what the service line material is from the meter to the house? So that's part of the study that we've done, and we've done a lot of surveys. We've done a lot of information through desktop analysis, and at some point we're going to have to go out and actually physically dig those spots and determine, if we receive no surveys back, basically what those materials are for that. So that's on the horizon yet as well. The program represents a shared responsibility between the utility and the property owners. Full removal of lead is most effective when both public and private portions are replaced. And SGWASA will continue to provide customer notifications, education, and guidance on the replacement options. So I hope that gives you just a brief but broad overview of responsibilities. I'd be happy to answer any questions related to the program in general or specifically what has been presented this evening.
Thank you, Scott. Matt. So what do you see, what appears in the customer's water when you see deterioration of the lead piping?
I don't think that you see much of anything, quite honestly, coming through there. From my knowledge, is there's no discoloration in the water. You have the potential of that lead, that chemical, those properties ending up in the water that is tested, and that's how you would find out what those volumes are, if you will. So I will tell the board to date, Chris, I need your help on this. When did we started this program about 2 years ago? Is that correct?
2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
Really no identification so far of any lead service lines out there in all of our service lines. That's not to say we'll end up there 100%, but that's how we're leaning. It's interesting that we have communities around this area that have a lot of lead service lines. What's interesting, maybe anecdotally, is that if you consider the time when a lot of this infrastructure was added back in the wartime, lead was a valuable resource, not necessarily to put in the ground for water lines. So a lot of galvanized water lines is what we find in the ground. So that is something that we have to work on as well, especially if it's downside or downstream of a lead service line. I think that I'm guessing probably in the next 5+ years, you'll probably see some type of rules on getting rid of galvanized service lines as well. That'll hit us pretty hard if that's the case. And we'll wait for that regulation to come down the line.
I think you're only required to replace galvanized currently if it's downstream of the lead service line.
When I went to the senior center recently, Mr. Shore has answered a lot of questions, and
provided feedback directly that I could provide to the seniors there. This is one of the items that came up,
Mhm.
and they were concerned that their water was being discolored by lead piping or things of that nature, deterioration, everything. So thank you. We directed them, and this is on our website, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Thank you.
Comments from our SGWASA attorney?
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Comments from board members? We're gonna start off with Butner Councilperson Tom Lane.
I really don't have anything tonight.
Thank you, sir. Butner Councilperson Vicky Daniels.
No comments tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem City of Creedmoor Commissioner Arthur Wilkins.
I have no comments tonight, sir.
Granville County Commissioner Jimmy Gooch.
I'm gonna continue to trend. No
Granville County Commissioner Russ May.
None.
And Creedmoor Commissioner SGWASA Vice Chair Georgiana Kaczynski.
Nothing.
Hallelujah.
I cannot believe
The
it.
Canes game to watch, y'all. I mean, I've got no time for this tonight.
Town of STEM Commissioners, myself, Kenneth McLam, and I have no comments tonight, but thank y'all for coming. Motion to
So
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night,
Go
everybody.
Canes.
Think of it.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
No, it's deserving. It's deserving, you know, and when I don't say much, then I come back to, I gotta say.
It's